Beijing mobilized its Army, Navy, air, and rocket units for military drills around Taiwan. The U.S. State Department now responding. What is the latest on that?
That's right, Tiff. And this is the second largest number of fighter jets deployed by the CCP. That's 130 warplanes and 22 ships, according to Taiwan's defense ministry. And the U.S. State Department condemning the CCP military exercises, saying that they increase tensions unnecessarily, and instead, quote, that they urge Beijing to exercise restraint, cease its military pressure against Taiwan, and engage in meaningful dialogue. And this is all coming as CCP leader Xi Jinping doubled down, vowing to reunify China and Taiwan in his annual New Year's Eve speech in Beijing. But President Trump has said that Xi Jinping would not invade Taiwan during Trump's presidency. Take a look.
I know you have said that Xi Jinping wouldn't dare move militarily on Taiwan while you're in office. But what if he does? Would you order U.S. forces to defend Taiwan?
You'll find out if it happens. And he understands the answer to that. They understand what's going to happen. And he has openly said, and his people have openly said at meetings, we would never do anything while President Trump is president, because they know the consequences.
And the drills are coming just days after Washington approved a record $11 billion arms deal with Taiwan, with President Trump set tonight to meet shortly with a U.S. ambassador to China, David Perdue, at his Mar-a-Lago estate. And meanwhile, President Trump has been staying busy in Palm Beach, signing an order today blocking a 2024 deal in which an American chips company, MCOR, sold its specialized chips business to HiFo, which is a U.S. registered firm controlled by a Chinese citizen. The order cites national security risks, retroactively prohibiting the transaction, and requires HiFo to divest the assets within 6 months. And sale of those assets must be approved by the U.S. government, with preference for buyers without ties to China. This move is just underscoring further efforts by the Trump administration to prevent critical semiconductor technology from falling into the hands of those that they believe could threaten national security risks. Tiff, back to you.
All right, Mari, thanks for those updates. Protests continue.
Back at how President Trump's second term has reshaped U.S. policy at home and abroad, from historic border enforcement to sweeping economic changes.
From border security and economic growth to global diplomacy and military deterrence, President Trump's second term has reshaped U.S. policy at home and abroad. Some world leaders have gone so far as to call him the most deserving candidate of the Nobel Peace Prize. Reporting by Jack Bradley, NTD News.
And China's military wrapped up 2 days of drills around Taiwan, marking Beijing's most extensive war games in the area to date. And joining us now to unpack everything and how it could impact us here in America is Grant Newsham, retired U.S. Marine Colonel and former U.S. diplomat. He's now a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy and the author of the book, When China Attacks. Grant, great to have you here with us as always. We saw one U.S. congressman call the drills less like routine readiness and more like rehearsals. Do you see it that way?
Yes, I do. I would also note that Admiral Samuel Paparo at U.S. Indo-PACOM has said the same thing from about almost a year ago. And he's the guy that has the access to all the intelligence. So I would take him at his word. Also, if you look at what the Chinese have done, the resources they've used, the kind of exercises, and what they have done over the last few years, one takes this very, very seriously. They've got all the pieces in place.
So if this is more like a dress rehearsal, have we learned anything about how the Chinese regime may go about invading?
Well, I think you will see that they're going to use everything they've got and make life very difficult for Taiwan. When I say everything, it means hammering with their rocket force. The air, sea, ground forces will all get involved, cyber, electronic, surrounding Taiwan, operating out to the east of the islands to try and keep any help from getting to Taiwan. And when they talk about help, that means the Americans in particular, to the Japanese to some extent as well. But they've looked at the whole map, and they intend to use everything that they've got. When they're going to use it, of course, nobody knows. But in terms of capability, you look at what they just did and what they've been doing for the last couple of years, and your skin has to crawl. Some analysts say that this is just performative, that they're not going to do anything. But Xi Jinping has said that he's not going to wait forever to settle the Taiwan issue. And I think we would better take him at his word rather than whistling past the graveyard and assuming he's just acting up.
During the drills, the Taiwanese military, they tried to put on a brave face, but would they be able to repel an invasion like this?
I think they could make life very difficult for the People's Republic of China, the People's Liberation Army. The Taiwanese are professional, they're well-trained, and finally, in the last few years, they've got some of the equipment, the hardware, the weaponry that they need to make it's a very difficult voyage for a Chinese invasion force that would come across the strait. Their sort of anti-ship defenses, their air defenses have all improved. And they have got a problem, of course, with fifth column activity that the Chinese communists have set up for a long time, the sort of subversion that takes place. But they do need help from the United States in particular, Japan, Australia, the rest of the free nations. And not just military help, but economic support, political support, and psychological support, which is essential. The Taiwanese unfortunately, were isolated for nearly 40 years by the free world, who refused to have anything to do with their militaries by and large. And that's broken down in the last few years, and it has a huge psychological effect in building confidence on the part of the Taiwanese. The Chinese will find, like the Russians did in Ukraine, that these things are not all that easy when you face an opponent that wants to stay free, that wants to survive, and that has the hardware and the sort of the mental discipline to do it. So I think the Chinese would make a big mistake underestimating Taiwan and also underestimating the United States, Japan, and the rest of the free world. Sometimes it takes a shock to wake people up, but that shock just might be coming.
Well, on that point of supporting Taiwan, we saw the United States recently sign a record arms agreement with Taiwan. Grant, looking at the drills that we just saw, how would the United States likely respond if this actually became reality?
Well, the U.S. has a sizable military presence in the Western Pacific. It may not be all that we would like to have, but they could give the Chinese a very difficult time. Perhaps could even sink the Chinese Navy in an afternoon if they made a move to get across the strait. But there's more to it than just military support as well, and that does require other pressure that can be put on the People's Republic of China. So a cut off in energy, cut off in all trade, cut off in food, expose the obscene wealth that Xi Jinping and his leaders have overseas tucked away, tell the 600 million Chinese living on $5 a day about all that. So there's other pressures that you can put on, and not just a sort of tit-for-tat military matching. I would also note that the Japanese military is professional. It has work to do, but if you add in the Chinese Navy capabilities, some of their niche air and outer space capabilities, make it so they can actually operate well with the United States, or better than they can now. And the Chinese have a big problem. Additionally, they have to cover their left flank up in Japan. The Japanese are defending their southern islands that easily reach into the Taiwan Strait. The Philippines as well are willing to put up a fight. So it's not as if would be a pushover on the part of the Chinese Communist Party if they go after Taiwan, despite how much they have been able to build up their military. The U.S. is no pushover at all. And if we have a mind to, we can make life very difficult for the Chinese.
You brought up Japan. We see Japan increasing their own defense budget to, I believe, the highest levels since World War II. They're also concerned about the CCP in that area. Grant, I've got about a minute. What would be the greatest impact on Americans if the CCP did invade Taiwan?
Well, this would be a fight that almost nobody alive even remembers. It would be a global fight, and it would not be limited just to Taiwan. You could easily find targets in the United States getting hit, U.S. bases, U.S. infrastructure. You could expect that to be interrupted, to suffer a lot of damage, in some cases even destroyed. So we used to think we had an ocean between us and trouble. Well, that distance has been erased. So we would feel the effects of this, not least with the Chinese hitting us in different ways. But if you want to see a stock market go down about 30,000 points in an afternoon, wait till that war starts. So the Americans will not be able to stand by. And if Taiwan goes under, then America's finished as a power in Asia. And no country on earth that thinks it has a sort of a promise, explicit or implicit, that the Americans will defend them, is going to have much confidence in U.S. capability to keep them free. So there's a lot at stake when it comes to Taiwan. It's not just some small island 90 miles off of the Chinese mainland. It's very important, and it's important that the administration makes this very clear to the American public, because they have to understand what is at stake. So Taiwan would just be the stepping stone if the Chinese are allowed to take it, and we would feel the effects of it immediately and for some time to come.
Pray you live through interesting times. Grant Newsom, thank you so much, and Happy New Year to you, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and to you too.
中共在年中发动了环台军演，引发各国的关切跟抨击那多国也发声力挺台湾，强调了台湾海峡的和平稳定对全球至关重要。所以请教时事评论人桑普律师对于这次中共军演还有各国反应的观察。
大家好，我们看到这一次的军演呢，名为那个正义使命2025，其实一点都没有正义都是一个谎言。其实这些军演是企图中共利用长期密集低冲突风险的那个扰动，希望制造一个新的既定事实，挑战国际秩序，挑战我们的心理底线。那我们面对这种情况下，不然中共为什么挑这个时刻来做这个事情呢？一方面是美国对台湾史无前例最大的军售，111亿美金的军售，那中共是看在眼里，恨在心里。另外一方面，它的东部战区的总司令员这个就是从林向阳换成了杨志斌，他要测试他的状况。内部的矛盾、经济跟民生的矛盾要转移，而且也要恐吓日本，也要阻吓台湾。所以几个目的要达成的话，中共想做这个军演，但是飞弹没有跨越本岛，都在基隆跟那个台南的外海，都是射到那个地方去。但问题是，这个做法导致全球的繁荣跟印太的和平受到各国的谴责，而且美国已经讲说，美国加大对台湾的军售，而且更重要的是，那个希望台湾国内的政党不要去挡国防预算，通过国安法案能够为台湾增加我们国防、民防、心防的力量。在这个情况下，台湾也不能视若等闲那英国、美国接连发声，台湾一定要那个真的把全境能够真的是要加足我们的干劲，把我们的国防落到实位，我们的豪猪战略，我们的不对称作战的能力要全面的加强。我们看到这次台湾能够有高调的有一个记者会，宣示那个这一次中共拍到航拍的照片，所谓的101照片都是造假的，要讲出 F-16V 战机基本上拍到中共很远距的拍到中共那个军机那些非常毛细孔的照片都看得到，所以看得到我们的实力，还有我们盟友的实力是远远比中共解放军来的强，所以我们不能妄自菲薄，既不能从从容容游刃有余，也不能够匆匆忙忙连滚带爬，是需要做好我们的功课，把全社会的防卫韧性培养起来，国防的、民防的、心防的、物流的、能源的、金融的，都要全面把它加强我们的韧性，这个才是全球和平之福，也是我们的生命、自由、财产之所寄。祝福台湾，希望新的一年大家新年快乐，心想事成，幸福美满。
好，谢谢律师。